Good morning, everybody. Today is June 25th. Happy birthday, Dad. And before we do anything else, I'd like to say Pledge of Allegiance. So, Miss Merrifield, Miss Councilwoman Merrifield, if you'd lead us in that, please.
Yes, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so very much. And to start off today, we're going to move directly into executive session. It's the second. We'll have a first and second to do that. To do litigation, matters surrounding litigation between the town of Riverhead and United Riverhead Terminal with Howard, TENNENBERG, Lipinski, and Brown. And then personnel matters, matters surrounding hiring of an employee with STRIPLIN-TIO. And then matters surrounding possible change in status, leave of absence with an employee with Councilor Prudenti. May I have a first and second to move into executive?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll be back in a few short. Welcome back to our June 25th, 2026 work session. I would like to request a first and a second to go back into our open session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So open session is open. We will begin with matters surrounding proposed paydown of the 2018 Refunding Bond Series B with myself, Financial Minister DIPAOLA, and Emery Prudenti. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. So in the series of, we had okayed refunding this, and in the series, Jeanette had done some homework, came back and said, I think we have the opportunity to actually pay off debt. So ask her to come forward and share that information with us so we can do it.
Okay, so we had talked a while ago about refunding the series. This was one of two series we talked about refunding, but looking at the fund balance in the Community Preservation Fund, there is a lot of money in there right now. So if you follow along the spreadsheet, as of 12/31/25, we have 30.1 million sitting in the CPF fund balance. Our debt service this year is 2.8 million roughly. The proposed pay down of this debt series for CPF would be an additional 7.2 million, principal only. So you'd be saving 660,000 of future interest if you pay it down now. Your adjusted fund balance would bring that down to 20.1, although it will probably be higher than that because last year we made 7 million on the transfer tax, and the debt is already in the budget. So really, you've probably already recouped that anyway from January through May or April transfer tax. But at any rate, if we say we normally try to maintain at least a 15% fund balance of the adopted budget, right, that would put us only at like 447,000, although we'll obviously keep more than that. You would still have roughly 19 to 20 million to spend on purchasing properties. And of course that would grow every year by the transfer tax, and especially since you're not paying the debt going forward, more in the pocket of the fund balance going forward.
So go ahead.
So I strongly support to pay off the indebtedness. So this is something back in the 90s so that the public understands that, in the high development taking place back then, I know that we had taken out through state grants, county grants. Then in 2016, Senator Laval and Fred Thiel kind of put out legislation at that point to refinance those grants so that we can continue to preserve farmland. But even after taking this step right now to pay down the debt, we'll still have about $19 million in community preservation funds, which is really impressive. So I think we've achieved that goal. And so it does not make any logical sense to continue to pay finances on it when we have the money readily available to do that. So I always will praise Senator Ken Laval, who's always been a personal friend for what he's done for preserving and protecting the farmland. We're an agricultural community, but I think that we've proven ourselves financially stable, and I think it's time to do that.
Yeah, we saved the 660. You want to cover?
Yeah, I want to talk about the general fund because in this bond series, a very small portion is the general fund, and you can't do one fund without the other. It's the whole debt series. So the general fund is, we'd have to use 92,000 of fund balance in order to pay that off. Not a lot of money. You're not getting a lot of savings and interest on that, but because there's not much left, this payment would be due next year anyway for 2027. So, but we'd have to pay off the general fund for an additional 92,000 of fund balance.
That
Makes
gives,
that up in the savings.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
I mean, this is a
Common
win-win.
math.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of debt, so anytime we have an opportunity to pay our debt down, I will obviously bring that forward, so,
Yeah, that's not a friend.
yeah. I think
So
this is a
it's
great
about
thing.
1%, you know, it equates to me in taxes, right? Even minus the 92,000.
Well, it's
If I take that off,
Yeah, mostly coming from CPF, not general fund, but.
it's good.
But 92,000, yeah, you're gonna remove this from the budget next year.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, another good thing for the budget.
Absolutely. Hey, Marie, you did a great job.
So time is of the essence. I do need to give the financial advisor notice so that he has enough time to do, and they said they would really try to rush this through for us because the payment has to go out by, on August 1st. So, in order to pay this down, so.
Gotta get it done.
I just think that it's important to know how we got to this point, that we do have this money available to be able to pay this off, because, you know, there was a conversation in the past that, you know, we did have to pierce the cap for last year, and it's like all of a sudden there's this found money. How did we get to that?
Are you talking about the general fund, or are you talking about, CPF is different?
No, I know that the CPF is different, but we are using money from the general fund as well.
Just for the 92,000. The other money comes from the CPS fund, so for that fund balance.
Right.
But yes, the general fund, the extra 5 million that we got in '25 is primarily due to, it's a combination of a conservative budget and a very focused effort on all the departments not to spend money. So we basically budget conservatively for our revenues, so some of it was interest earned. So we had about 1.5 million in excess of our budget for interest earned. So that's a significant amount of it, but it's also just a lot of operating expenditures that we were under budget in 2025. So everybody did a great job of really being mindful of spending, I will say that for sure. So, and we didn't have that many fund balance transfers coming out during the year. We were very mindful of that as well, so.
So it sounds like the town board was doing a good job.
But also, it took, for a period of time, we were continuously trying to repair automobiles, fix broken projects, just maintain. And then we finally took the actions to repair, replace, and I think that the department heads have done a phenomenal job of keeping the spending down and understanding what, at each little department, each savings adds up in the end in the overall budget. And so, but I think we've expanded some of our departments, certainly the police department, and it directly affects the budget, but we now have a safer, better community. It did take us, to invest in it, but I think now when you look at our bond ratings, our levels are down, our percentage rates, so that's great that we keep our bond rating down because of our expenditures. So I think we've been doing it right, and I think we're finally starting to break out into the sun and see the benefits or the rewards of what we've done over the past few years.
Joanne, you ask, and since being in office, one thing I can say is our state and federal partners have been really good about making sure that Riverhead is on their radar. LaLoda, they've done a great job in making sure, with police vehicles and helping to do what you said. So I think those community partners and those state and federal partners are doing a good job by us.
And sometimes we have to budget for items like police vehicles with the expectation that we won't receive them through a grant. And then when our congressman comes through and delivers them, then it's savings in the overall budget.
The county executives as well, they've done a great job in helping with, I know we're doing, the sewer department, and they've just done some great things there, so, all right.
Okay, so I have
So
a yes.
yes for me.
Absolute yes.
Perfect.
Right,
And if we need to do anything, just my own opinion, like before, to make sure if we need to have any type of special board meeting, or anything to get this through, to make sure we're saving the taxpayers' money.
Well, you'll see a resolution go through for the fund balance
By August
transfer.
1st.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying,
so
we
that'll
don't want to
be
miss
coming.
that deadline based on town board schedule.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna let let him know today that we absolutely want to move forward, so, and he said he would work on it first thing, like, right away, so.
You'll do a resolution that we can
Now,
ratify.
is all of this money needs to be allocated by August 1st, or just this particular bond? You know, we're talking about the digitizing of the
No,
department.
this is the-
Okay,
No, no,
that's what I just wanted to
the
check.
CPF bond.
Got it, I
yeah.
just wanted to make
Just
sure
the
that
Yeah, and
they
it's
all
only
did.
92,000 out of general fund.
Right.
The other one is community preservation fund.
Yes.
I just didn't know if the same deadline applied
What's
for
the-
the rest of the 5 million in that extra fund
No,
balance.
no. No, you can use that anytime. It rolls over, so it just stays.
Yeah,
in
the
fund
CPF,
balance.
yeah, is not the general fund, so, yeah, yep. So then the next one would be right here with these two lovely individuals. That we're going to continue with the matters surrounding proposal of town square band budget pay down.
More pay downs of debt, all good things, so.
You want the community development head for this?
Oh, yeah,
Dawn?
you want to come up here, Dawn?
We'll make sure you get in the club, so sorry about that.
Okay, so basically the first sheet that I gave you, because there's been a lot of questions from the residents about the Petroselli property and, did we not make money, did we not make money? So a long time ago, Amory and I sat down when we had to value the properties out. So we bought all the town square properties for $4.85 million. And we had to give a value to the Petroselli property for the hotel. So in order to do that, Anne Marie and I sat down and we kind of segregated out the square footage of all the properties. And by doing so, the property at 127 East Main is valued at $2.65 million from that original purchase price. We are selling the property to Petroselli per the contract for $2.625 million. Petroselli has also been sending rental income in for leasing the property from December 25 through June 26, which is 122.5, which means the net proceeds from Petroselli are going to amount to 2.747500. So we didn't lose any money on it. We really made a little bit with the rental income. And in his contract, we have specifically set aside that $660,000 worth of his funding will go towards matches for the future town square projects as matches for the grants. So either way, we would have had to pay that $660 out of our general fund balance, but we decided we'll use Petroselli's and incorporate it in that contract. So either way, the town would be paying for that $660. So that's part of the contract. So that's an overview of where the three properties, how it all situated, and how we came up with the purchase price for the hotel. This second schedule is the proposed paydown of the town square band. So these bands, the original price was roughly $5 million, roughly, and right now the principal that's due is the $2.725 million, and then we have interest due this year as well. So this year's budget for 2026, we've incorporated $385,000 into the budget. But we also have interest budgeted for 200 Howell that we have not yet bonded, and obviously we're not going to be probably doing that anytime soon, and if we did, it wouldn't be payable until next year anyway. So we already have $300,000 in the general fund budget that we can apply towards the pay down of these bands.
Just so people know what you're talking about, this is the courthouse
Yes.
renovation and the police station.
Yeah,
right, the
yeah.
200. Okay.
Yeah, basically Justice Court, because
Yes.
we didn't even talk about PD.
We're just naming it as 200 Howell.
And not that those projects are not moving forward, it just takes time to go to the unified court system and to get approvals. So we allocated money, should we get those approvals anytime sooner,
Right,
knowing that it could be either reapplied or carried over to the following year.
correct.
I'd like to, we did get approval from the OCA on the court, on the design of the court. So and I thought we were going to start to move on this in early '27. We need to build that court. So where are we with that?
I mean, I don't know, we could talk about that at some point soon. My point is, we haven't done it yet. So even if we did it early '27, then we would talk about putting the budget in again for next year for that.
Even bonding at the end of this
It's
year.
not due for a year, yeah,
Bob,
exactly.
if we did it today, it's still not a year out.
Correct.
So we've already passed that.
Correct. It's not like we have the opportunity where I should save this for '26.
I want that on everybody's radar. We're doing all this other stuff. That's like an absolute necessity.
It doesn't change the course of the.
And I told you that if you guys are if you're uncomfortable with that, it would just bump the bottom number up 300 that we'd have to transfer from fund balance, but
Yeah, but it's silly, we're not gonna pay interest on that anyway, even if we move forward tomorrow, right? You wouldn't pay the interest until the following year. So the net pay down would then be 2.149, and we're on schedule to close with Joe Petroselli by the end of July. So the contract sale would be the 2.625, and then we're removing the 660 and applying that towards the capital projects. So the net proceeds would be the 1,965,000, which means we need an additional 184,000 out of fund balance to transfer just to pay down the overall debt on those original 3 properties for the
And we
ban.
have interest earned and fund balance to utilize that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the way this should be appropriately
Right.
applied.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
good
it's, yeah, it's not so bad because we have that extra also in there. So I think this is a no-brainer. We want to pay down the debt on this and not leave this hanging out or convert to long-term bonds, because if we didn't pay this down, we'd have to convert to long-term bonds come August 14th, and we don't want to do that.
Not a good idea.
Okay, so we'll do a resolution for this as well.
Thank you, thank you.
Great, perfect.
Marie, again, stellar work, conversation, thank you so much. Our next is matters surrounding electronic permitting for building department, which is going to slide, for those of you watching at home, it's going to slide right into the fourth matter, which will be matters surrounding scanning and digitization of building department, planning department, archives, and I believe Chip is also going to be joining us, and we're excited about this across the board.
So you're doing his first and then we're doing this? How do you want to do that?
We're going to hit the electronic permitting, is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Yep,
the first
yep,
topic
first
on this, so we would bring up building 2, I think.
Yep.
if you
Oh,
want.
yeah. I'm sorry, Bob and Heather, if you'd like to come forward. 142. So we're going to be addressing initially just the electronic permitting.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you have a,
Yes, I think
Justin?
Justin's got the PowerPoint ready to go.
transmitting to the TV. Great to see all of you this morning.
Just as a preface, we started looking at different, and I'll just back up a little bit. Later part of 25, Bob became the head of the building division, and Heather took a step up to administrator. We have not currently backfilled the existing position that was eliminated, but one of the things that Bob and Heather have done to really kind of drill down into the details of what the building department is doing, how they're doing it, how efficient it's being done, and how we can make things better. And that dovetails into some other things, but some of the things that we noted that were important, and I'll go to this slide. The first slide here just talks about what the building department actually handles on the day-to-day basis. Is a tremendous amount of work that they do. It's not just accepting and processing building permits. They give zoning advice. They help people understand what the process is. They do inspections on all work that's to be done. They review plans. They give people site history. They look at applications. They meet with 1 million people every single day. I think they have 3,800 counter visits every year. And then one of the big functions that the building department is responsible for is responding to FOIL requests. And so there's between 900 and 1,000 FOIL requests every year that we've done the work and detailed, and they average about an hour a piece, a little over an hour a piece to address. So it's about 1,200 hours a year of staff time that's addressing just to FOILs, yeah. So I just go to the next slide, building statistics. Again, 1,200 permits annually, give or take, about 1,000 FOIL requests, thousands of calls, the phone never stops ringing, multiple formal complaints. They dovetail their work with code enforcement and also the town attorney's office and the prosecutions. There are at least 1,500 inspections, which are going up, I think. Bob could...
Yeah, we actually looked at our numbers from the first 5 months from last year to this year. Our total field inspections have gone up 66% this year from last year.
Again, close to 4,000 counter visits, and the building department draws in about $1.5 million annually in all of the fees collectively, including permit fees and inspection fees. And so, the goal of the department is to really kind of advance customer service and to make things better. And so you probably are familiar with other communities that are doing electronic permitting, which means that when you submit an application, you don't need to physically deliver the paper. You can actually do it online through a portal. And that gives the customer, the taxpayer or developer, the ability to really kind of maximize their efficiency and to help us really kind of compress a lot of the work that's done. Because right now, when you file a paper permit application, it gets translated by the staff into a electronic file, and then the paper files come in, and then we go back and forth on the paper files, and then everybody's dropping off, picking up, and then there's inspections that need to be scheduled. All of those are currently done by telephone or by email sometimes. And that sort of brought us to the idea of that we need to make sure that our documents are not misplaced, not misfiled, put in the correct order, and easily accessible to us. And so that kind of got us to the point of, well, we really need to get those documents digitized. And so the documents being digitized as they're coming in, when we do electronic permitting, they're currently not doing that. We're actually scanning things into the folders, which is a time-consuming thing. And those documents, when they're introduced by an applicant through an online portal, are automatically digitized. And that is an important thing, because those are records that we use all the time. Those are records that are the public. They belong to the public. And in the past, those of you who've been here a while may recall, we've had fires and floods, and documents have been destroyed and missing and not available. And we needed to one time get them all demolded by some company because we had a flood in the basement. So the move going forward has got to be electronic documents. And so that was part of this discussion.
I think in the highway department, don't they have some of them there?
There's-
I saw some barn somewhere. I think it was Mike Zaleski showed me where I think documents.
That's possibly true, and the basement is full and continues to get fuller, and the world continues to not need as much storage space as we are currently, on track to be needing.
So right now, we as a town are antiquated in this. Like, if you look at any other industry, when you go to the bank, and you submit documentation, it's scanned, it's put in. All large-scale companies have gotten away from storage, okay, meaning like physical boxes and piles of storage, trying to keep them in climate-controlled areas and arenas to prevent mold and so forth. I think that the electronic thing still gives you the security and the protection. So I work on a regular basis with the health commerce system, where we each have our own individual license number and so forth. So when we are in fact uploading documentations, it's proof that it's coming specifically from me. So it eliminates the idea of having to come to the town clerk and get something notarized to present it off to you, that it has the identity theft protection built into it. And I can do, as an applicant in the building department, I can do a lot of work that you normally have to do. I'll upload it, I'll scan it. And then I don't mind paying a electronic permitting or digitization fee in addition, because I'm saving time now. I'm not going back and forth. I'm not paying my contractors or my workers to leave the job site, to go to town hall, to request that next inspection, to tell them that we're ready to have it. You can actually take photos from the site, right? So if we want to look at certain things, we can take photos, upload it, and you can review them right from your desk and be like, it's a faster method. It keeps construction going on. It's more cost efficient for contractors, but we keep looking at, okay, but what's the cost to the town? And that's why I think we add the electronic fees, digitization fees, and what we will save in the amount of foil times once things are fully digitally uploaded, and the hours that you need to spend to go down to that basement and go from box to box to box. The employee hours are astronomical, and you're just one department, but I think that this becomes a cost savings. We invest into this, and then we will have a return on our money, and we were working with all the numbers, And we're looking at between a 5 and 6 year of return, and then from there, we will be making money. So it's a one-time investment with a return for many years to come.
Absolutely. I think antiquated was kind. I think that was really good. And exactly. I resonate with what you're saying. I think I'm so excited. I think this board is.
So if we can just flip to the next slide, I think some of the things that you were.
One thing, and this, because we explored this several years ago, and one of the good things about this is when people do submit online, they're not going to be able to make mistakes. If they don't upload a file, they're going to be notified you didn't upload a file. That's going to save you a tremendous amount of time. In addition, once we have the information scanned in, people will follow the Southampton model where you will register, you want to either do a yearly subscription for foils, daily, monthly, and that will save, and allow you guys to be more productive. And this is, for me, this is about time, because we're getting Riverhead out of the dark ages, and I'm glad people around here are starting to realize where it needs to be.
We started looking at companies that provide digital permitting services back in August and September of last year, and we actually interviewed and did demonstrations with 5 different companies. IPS, who's our current provider. We did SDL, which is now called GovPilot, OpenGov, and Civic Plus. Yeah. Those 5, and we actually did multiples with some of those groups just to see which one offered the best. And one of the things we talked about, what I think some of the council people were talking about is, when you submit digital plans, the company that we liked the best is called GovPilot. Used to be called SDL. They have a bunch of features that the other ones don't have. One of them is this, there's a program called Bluebeam that people use to review plans. This has an integrated thing, so the plans will come up on the screen. The plans review, building permit plans review person who's currently Andy, will be able to note those things, and the notes are kind of canned on certain things, so they can just clip them in, and that, when he's completed his review, automatically emails or texts the applicant to tell them they can look at the results in the portal, and then those plans can be corrected. So we're not going back and forth with multiple sets of paper plans. It's another storage issue. We save on postage, we save on notary, because currently when you have an online portal, you register yourself in the portal and you put all of your information in there, so we know who you are when you submit through the portal, versus having to get a paper and make sure that it's notarized by the person who says who they are, says they are who they say they are. That will save the clerk's office time, because Jim's office has been inundated with people looking for notaries, and so it alerts people to the statuses of their application. If something new changes on their application, it automatically alerts them. The remote inspections was the thing that we really loved about this, because of the fact that Riverhead's like 68 square miles, I think, or something. So if we have a little small thing that failed inspection in Wading River and another one in Jamesport, you're talking about 4 hours of travel time, versus this has an app that the contractor will have. They can not only schedule their application through the app, but if it's a small thing that needs to be just verified, the app will allow that person to basically FaceTime with the inspector. It will geolocate them at the spot, so we know that they are where they say they are, and it'll automatically upload photos of the inspection into the folder. So it's the amount of time savings there, and I think you could just flip to the next slide, Justin. We talk about just in the paper permits, we've figured out, based on the hourly rate, a blended average of the hourly rate of the staff that are doing mostly the foil work, it's about $72,000 a year just in that time saving. So no longer, we changed, you can go to the next slide, Justin. And then the savings on, sorry, Chip, sorry. I don't know who's flipping the slides here. Sorry, Chip.
We've got the big boss here.
Yeah, so, but we tried to be very conservative when we prepared this. We worked on it all together, just to, show the numbers what they would be. If 15% of the inspections annually, and we have more inspections now than we used to, are compliant, are using a remote, we could save 26,000, and that's just in labor time. That doesn't include fuel, and that doesn't include risk. Wear and tear on the vehicles, or risk when we send someone out on the road to do something. So that's,
Sometimes, only because of the short staff, you're out doing inspections and someone else is foiling down the basement, and then the customer
at the
comes in
window.
and there's nobody at the window.
Well,
We
that's-
understand that's not, you're trying to do everything you can, but it's too much of a workload on that. So we have to do something to try to decrease that workload to help you along.
yes.
Appreciate that.
If we can take 1,200 hours a year and put that back into actually processing permits, we've done a really important thing, because we're attending to the customer and making sure that the process is, as enjoyable as it can be.
And which generates fees. The building
Correct, and that
permits.
also, we did a little research, and it looks like in other communities, people are actually more likely to apply for permits when they know the process is easy. So we anticipate a general small 3% increase in the total number of permits, which would be another $45,000 in revenue to the department annually.
This is so exciting.
It is exciting. Well, we've been excited
great
we did a tremendous amount of work preparing for this, and a lot of stats and review on what we do, and kind of like diving deep into how it all works.
But this goes right down to each individual resident for the simple things. When we talk about the building department, we also, for the most part, the general contributes you to large-scale development that's taking place, but this is the average homeowner that simply wants a shed permit, doesn't need to leave their place of employment, their work, to come down to town hall to fill out an application, and then to come back and to pick up their permit.
Yeah.
When it's all done electronically, they can do it from home, they can do it in the evening, they can fill it out, they can make the payment, and they get everything. It's about making the everyday life, what we all with these iPhones now, everybody wants instant gratification of just like, I'm able to do this right now, I want to get my permit right now, I want to begin right now, and I think that we've got to get into
And just
new
like
age.
what we do in building is impacted by what happens in code and what happens in the clerk's office, because the clerk improved the software for the FOIL requests. So that's great, wonderful for the public, but now the FOILs are stacking up, and we don't have a new process to process them. And same with code, the more work they do and the more officers they hire, the more work gets put on building. And so it again gives them, it relieves them of the things that really shouldn't be taking their time, and puts them on the duty that they're actually hired to do. So that's an important thing. So we anticipate, and this is, again, we think pretty conservative, about 143,000 annual savings just from the electronic permitting system addition. And then we go to the next slide and we show the cost. We were kind of pleasantly surprised, I think, at the cost. The first year is a little higher, but the annual cost of maintaining the system, and that includes our training, that includes them creating all of our forms, which will then be online. The forms on this particular system will look exactly like they look. They'll be designed by the building department and have what they have in them. We have a current software, IPS, which is not able to do what we needed it to do. We interviewed them. And so we're looking at, $106,190 to initiate it, and $72,000 a year after that. But clearly the revenue saved will cover the cost of this and then some. So we think it's a really smart idea. I think it would be really helpful to staff, and I think it's a win-win. And I don't know if you guys want to add to any of that, but that was just electronic permitting, and then we'll kick to the digitizing the documents, the existing building documents.
Right, the supervisor wanted to separate the two
Yeah,
out.
it's because they're two different payments, but yeah, this is so exciting. It's great stuff, and like a segue right into the next one, but yeah.
Maybe you want to talk about just the frustration some of your staff members have had, and we've had some turnover.
Yeah, well, so
that makes
one of the benefits, so last year in August, when I stepped into the seat that I'm in now, from August to the end of the year, was a lot of trying to get an understanding of what the building department does, what it needs, where we can go. So at the end of the year, and Heather and I have talked about a lot of these things, I had two goals that I wanted for this year. One was to stabilize the employees. And last year, we have 7 slots. Last year, 4 of those people left for better paying, less stressful jobs. And you can't function like that because we're always training. It's not efficient. It's very stressful. So stabilize the employees, and then number two, hopefully complete. This is depends on you guys, of course, but one of my goals was to complete a transition to electronic permitting, to get away from all the problems we have with lost documents, and the pressures at the counter constantly on people. I have to tell people sometimes to slow down because people come, they're bringing us paperwork, and you try to take somebody takes it from the counter and goes to look for the file, and then they get distracted by something else, and then you can have things get lost that way. This gets rid of all of that. It gets rid of the pressure at the counter. It gets rid of the pieces of paper that can be physically lost. So, these are
Boxes upon boxes stacked up in your office to
So,
search
and
and
the
find.
piles of files on my desk as well, for instance. So those were my two goals. It's what I considered the most important thing. We considered, Heather's been here longer than me, and she's obviously, as you all know, an integral part of everything that goes on in building. So for the two of us, that was the two things that we thought we needed to do. So this is a big part. We're excited. It's going to be a transition. It's going to be tough, but the only way out is through. So we're put our heads down.
Getting out of the dinosaur age.
You want to slide right into the...
We can throw out the abacus.
Keep rolling.
The next,
I just want to quick say that, you're speaking about all the paper, the boxes and boxes of paper. I know that sounds small, but the amount of money that will be saved because you're not using as much paper. Paper is a significant, cost to the town, to everybody. So I'm happy with that.
because we're currently mailing things through snail mail.
Oh, that's so great.
And people will be able to see when the CO is issued. It'll be as a file in your portal, and everyone will be organized. It'll be a lot easier for everyone to keep track of
So
everything.
great.
This is what we wanted that additional money in the fund balance to go towards, these modernizing process. I like to say we're a quarter of a century through the 21st century.
Yeah,
There you go.
we're 100% getting there. So when we talk about the digitizing of the documents moving forward through this electronic building permit process, the question then arises, well, we have a tremendous cache of building department documents that are in the basement, and I know Bob in the past had worked on trying to figure out how to digitize those in Chip. And when we started talking about it, we went to Chip and said, let's figure out what it's going to cost. Like, how does this work, and can we do it? Because every day we wait, there's more documents to digitize, and the cost goes up, and every year the cost goes up, and then we have less and less space, which is always, an interesting thing.
So we did bring in someone today that helped kind of give us some insight towards, how digitization works, that because the idea is that we have an existing staff, but Bob, if you assign somebody to spend all day downstairs, it would be months and months and potentially maybe years, to go through that, and now you have an absentee person up front. But again, if we made the investment towards going full digitization, hired a private company to come in, scan all the documents, the hours we'll save in FOIL request alone is astronomical. The space that we already have, we're now currently battling. Our code enforcement's doing a great job, but now we need more desks, more placements, and then meantime, we're filling our basements up with documents. Maybe there's a potential down the road to move things around to allocate more space in here without having to have all these documents in one building. So we do have a gentleman here that maybe could, if you want to come forward and join us, if you don't mind, you can introduce yourself and the company, but just, we wanted to make sure that what we were putting forth, that we were being factual and accurate in terms of what real costs are, what it is, and then Dawn has done a great job at allocating what we believe the long-term savings would be. So we appreciate you coming forward.
And I think, Chip, also, you have utilized this company as well previously?
Thank you.
I
I
have.
have one in my office already.
Just take more information.
Okay, good, I'll take it then.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I don't know
Okay.
if you do any more introduction, or you want to, like, a little bit?
Let me just, we're just going to cut through, we'll show what we think, what we're getting toward, and
Can
then,
I just bring up one practical example? This happened to me today, not 10 minutes before I came down here. The phone rang, Heather picked it up. It's a woman who needed a copy of her survey because she's going to closing and she needs it tomorrow. That normally goes to the FOIL system. When she told her that, I said, how long is that going to be? We're probably 2 months. This woman freaked out. And I said, transfer to me. So I ended up going in the basement, pulling her file, making a physical copy of this so that her broker can pick it up tomorrow and she can sell her house. If this is all online and available by clicking on a map, boom, 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 she doesn't get that phone call, she doesn't get somebody being nasty with her. I don't have to spend time explaining it and then just going downstairs to try to help her out. So this is what we're looking at avoiding. This is an everyday thing, and this just happened.
And the other thing I want to mention, we keep talking foils. We can't charge anything for foil.
Correct.
So it's not like we can pass this on to customers.
But it's, the idea on the system too is like, when I was trying to learn about it in digitization, how do you find this stuff? How do you categorize it? But it's basically a tax map of the whole town. So if you have FOIL, any particular parcel, you click on it, and everything is about that, from start to finish, to your initial building permit fees. It's all right there, so it's very easy to locate.
Yeah, I think Joanne deals with this all the time, and I think, and you're such a good person for being kind to them. You are. But I think, and Bob said he's been excited about this, so let's hear it. This is exciting. Let's go.
I just have a slide just kind of identifying the things that will help us. One of the things that Chip and I have been talking about is having it attached to GIS, and Chip can address kind of how that happens. I don't know if you want to just talk about that quick.
So the scanning project that we're talking about now is simply scanning all the documents in the basement for the building department and digitizing those and ultimately hosting them online. Something we will get to is connecting our GIS system to that new repository. So we must put it in the repository first before we can even build a GIS platform. If we build a GIS platform and we have a subscription model, it'll be perfect for everyone.
That's what I alluded to earlier. To Denise, to your point, you can't charge for foils. What will happen, Pete, I would urge you to look at Southampton. You actually can do that, and this will cut down, because you get a lot of realtors, you get that do it, a lot of attorneys.
That's not a FOIL fee, that's an access fee, a subscription.
It's an access fee.
So they pay a subscription
Sorry,
because
it's an
their
access
life is
fee.
easier,
Yeah.
but we can't charge for
Chip
FOIL.
spoke to Southampton, and how much do they get annually for
Between 150 and 170.
for subscriptions?
Yep.
So that's,
Annually,
that
yes.
will help support that system in an ongoing way.
150.
Yeah, 150,000, yeah.
Everybody out there
Yeah, and I have
understands.
all these things in the
170,000
slide.
is revenue for their subscription model.
That's great.
And if
Their
you flip-
subscription plans, their annual is $360. Then they have a 6-month, a 1 month, and a 1 week, and a 1 day. The 1 day is $10. So a lot of people would pay the 1 day $10 just to not drive downtown. So that would be a way to alleviate foils as well. So that you can get your document one way or the other.
And I don't know can you flip to the next slide? So we did just some numbers on what we think we would save. That foil, that 1,000 foils a year, 1,200, an hour and a quarter each, average, 1,219 staff hours, could be a savings of $73,140. And then, a cost of $73,000, that's what it costs now. And then the annual savings looks like it would be around $58,500 a year, just in that time. We'll go to the next one. And as you were mentioning, Bob, these are the types of people that are subscribing in Southampton: contractors, expediters, architects, engineers. All those people are looking for documents every day, as we know, based on our FOIL flow. And we think that they would pay an average of $300 a year. That's what the total subscription would generate based on Southampton. It's a little bit less than they were doing. We're a little bit smaller, but probably not too much smaller. And then we just did a last slide on cost benefit. So it's,
Quickly going to the revenue of 180,000.
Go back. Yeah,
We're really good here.
I wanted to say that too.
I know, it is good, but it does,
Subscribers, you get 180,000 a year.
the digitizing of the documents based on your prior estimate, and I think you were here and measured those files for Chip, was around 1.326, and that's, currently the number we have. And then Chip, you want to just talk about how that indexing part works?
The indexing of the documents, after we receive the digital documents back from Mr. Siri and his company, we have the task of indexing and creating this repository that's searchable. And we intend to host it on Laserfish. So the company that, I've talked to a couple of companies, but one who works often with Richard Series' company has given me an estimate to take all the documents and build our Laserfish portal. Having never done that, I'm not sure that I want to take that task on, and they are the experts, and they've done it numerous times.
So it's a one-time fee of $194.2, that's estimated right now, but that's about what it is. And then the Laserfish going forward will have an annual cost of the $34,000, but that would be covered by the revenue from the subscriptions too. So total project cost is a big number, 1.554, but if we take those savings into account, which are on the right column, at the end, we would cover the cost of the entire program in 5 years. So I think that's a little bit of feels like a little bit of a long time, but we really feel like the improvements in efficiency and customer service will be so worth it that, and, you know, again, it will ultimately pay for itself. So that's our presentation. I don't know if you want to take it from there, but tell us.
So a little bit about how the whole digitization works. So, you know, that came in about a year ago or so that we started working on this project. So, okay. So if you want to just kind of lead us into a little bit about what your company does.
Sure. So Series Systems has been in business for 25 years. I've been in the industry over 40 years. And our core business is scanning documents, digitizing records. In the last 15 years, we've primarily focused on government, because that's where the paper is. Someone made a comment before about, corporations being, they're fully digital. Morgan Stanley, I did tons of work for in the 2000s. There's no more need. They're all digital. They won't survive if they're not digital. But government is still paper intensive. So we've done about 25 to 30 building departments, for example, of towns and villages in Nassau and Suffolk County and Westchester over the last 10 or 12 years. And it grows every year. We get up another 5 or 6 additional ones. The biggest one is the town of Hempstead. We started in 2007. If you know the town of Hempstead, it's the largest town by population in the country. If it was a city, it'd be the 13th largest city, supposedly, with 900,000. And so we started digitizing their building records, and many other departments too, but they're building records back in 2007, and every year they give us a budget. And when COVID hit, they went to a very sophisticated, just like you, permitting software solution. And the supervisor called me and said, Reg, it's during COVID, we need to get everything digital, one time, finish it up, so that everything's in the repository, that people outside can access these records during COVID. So they gave us a very large budget to do one final push, and now they're fully digital. We're doing the town of North Hempstead, who hadn't done anything in the past. Town of Oyster Bay, Brookhaven, East Hampton we did 10 years ago when Larry Cantwell was there, and he said to us, and I'd worked with him when he was a village clerk and village administrator in the village of East Hampton. But the town, he said, we want to index all our records by all the records, not just building, planning, ARB, ZBA, BZA, whatever you refer to it here. And we want to do a key search on the tax map ID and get all the documents back in one shot that have been scanned. So we're talking about building now, but down the road you'll say, I want ARB, I want BZA, I want planning.
Town clerk, birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates, all those things.
Well, those are not indexed by tax map ID.
No, but it's another way of
100%.
scanning.
100%. We're doing a number of projects with Brookhaven now, very similar. And so I have a lot of expertise. So we were talking earlier, Bob and Heather and Chip, about how do we do this after we index it, by tax map ID and maybe street name and number, and your files are indexed by those fields, but then when you go into that ROTHWELL, they're broken out by permit number. Well, we want to take full advantage of that. We want to index down to the permit level, so when you do a search in the historical Laserfish system, you're getting back a permit number. If you have an associated type of permit, like a name in a database for that permit, we could grab that too, like we do Nassau County Police Department, all their records, and they give us their pistol permits every month, and they give us a database of the pistol permit number, the name, and other information. Well, we key in the pistol permit number, and we look at the file and says that's Richard Series, And then it says, we look at the file, and it says, yeah, it's registered in the database says it. If it comes up with another name, we've miskeyed it. So then we check it again, key it, and then we accept all the data. And so it saves on money on indexing, if we can do that, right? And that's the key, is to do it the most efficient way possible. So we were talking about running a test on some of your records, because some of your records you might have stuff in the files, maybe fax cover sheets, things like that you don't want. There's a cost associated with us culling those files. And so we look at that. If you're looking for the needle in a haystack to find a document you're going to remove, just scan it. If you're going to find a lot of documents that have to be removed, it's worth spending that additional funds, right? To do it's a one-time job. Once it's done, it's done. Then when you have everything digital in your permitting solution, then you're only scanning some documents that come in, that have to come in. So, we do everything through a state contract, so you really don't even contract with Series Systems. You contract with NYSID, New York State Industry Disabled. Under the New York State Finance Law, and this is for 51 years now, since 1975, New York State Office of General Services requires that certain types of services have to be provided by what they could refer to as preferred source. Preferred source is, so NYSID is New York State Industry Disabled, and the whole mission of NYSID is to put individuals with disabilities to work, so they're not on the state, And so we have over 30 people who are disabled who work for us, do fantastic work, and very proud of them. I mean, they show up every day, and get the job done.
That's fantastic, and make sure we're working with Teresa to make sure that that's, through the proper channels, and that's exciting stuff, so.
State contract.
Yeah.
And so just to make it clear, like Chip has said, there's no RFP involved in this. That's great.
And so, Chip, so, I think,
You've come highly recommended from, different towns and companies and so on. I appreciate what you do, and just the time that you've put in to guide us, to make a determination for, whether or not to,
I also
implement
think
this cost.
you're really thinking this through. I'm very impressed the way you're doing this, to be quite honest with you. Because you're getting your permitting software. You're looking at Laserfiche, which is a great product. We work with them on many occasions. And you're going to digitize the records. You're tying it all together. You're looking, not everyone looks at that, getting the annual revenue. I have to tell you. You look at a lot of municipalities. They're not looking at that annual revenue where they can provide that data and get, $115,000, $125,000, $150,000 a year reoccurring revenue. It'll pay for this easily over 5 years or whatever. That's really, or whatever it takes. That's a really good way to look at this.
Thank you, Mr. Siri. Thank you. You guys excited? You have to be like you're anticipating it, but you're like, right? You're like, don't let it fall apart, right? Don't let it, nothing happens.
This is something that we've talked for a number of years, wanting to do this, wanting to get to this level. I think what has held us off in prior years is simply, do we put that, $1 million into the budget, and then how does that directly affect every taxpayer, and how do we do it? And so we have been talking and watching fund balance for a period of time, and watching, the investment funds grow, and there was an expectation that at some point, so we kept promising you, at some point, when we have a more documented on exactly the investment that we get on that return, then this could become available. So I firmly believe that this is what invested funds from fund balance should be utilized for, because this is about taking those funds, and ultimately it's still a reinvestment. It's almost like, buying a house for $1 million and paying it off within 5 years, and now you have a product that's worth that. And so with this, we, after 5 years, we're going to get an ongoing return. And so we're going to see, so it's another revenue generating, it's an additional investment, but this will be revenue generating, time consuming, quality of life in the building department, right? So that's important. That's because, you know what? People have to get up in the morning and they have to like their job and want to go to work and want to spend it there. And foils and things like that can be really difficult and if somebody just thought, wow, you mean I could do this from my living room at home? I can log on and get the information that I need. I think it has everything, and I'm just I'm glad that we're at where we're at, and so maybe we could say promises kept, promises made, promises kept. We're trying to get to that point of investing this, and I think it's a great way to move forward, and I encourage everybody that it's time.
I think these are positive ways to use that money where it will generate money for us in the future. That's what we're trying to do. And help with our personnel, help with community relations, because I know that gets frustrating for people at the counter at times. So I just feel there's so many different ways. And there's also a tickler process, I understand. So if somebody's permit is past due, it's an easy way to check to find out. And that's, again, a way to generate revenue for us.
There's so much that's automated through this that it will really help and facilitate the process. And, you know, as you say, it's important as a member of the public to be able to get the things that you need. And when you can get them readily, it's a good feeling, like, oh, my government's serving me well. So that's kind of...
Real estate companies may, choose to do a prescription to this device is simply that if they're going to choose to begin to market a house, we can go online with a yearly subscription fee. Like, this house that I'm about to market, does it have that shed permit fee? Does it have that pool permit fee? Where am I going in this, and how soon can I put it, or what's going to be necessary to get this house up to date with their permit fee?
The buyer can look and see, oh, they don't have a permit for the shed, et cetera, et cetera. I'm over my embarrassment for this town that it's taken this long, and there's no question about the speed, the efficiency, and what will happen at all. This is
One last
I
slide.
John wanted to say something.
I did. I'm fortunate enough to have been on the other end of this with my title company. It is so great to be able to access. I do not think twice about getting a subscription to the towns that offer this. And I've dealt with Town of Hempstead, which you did, your company did, and it's great. When I see something, oh, it's in Riverhead, it's like I have to wait to find out, for the foil to come through my, municipal data company. It's just, to have Riverhead come have this, it's just, I'm so excited about it. And we've been talking about this for a while. We were discussing how to build a bridge between the assessor's office and building department to make it easier for them to work together instead of constantly having to get out of their office to go to another office, go to the basement. It's just, the time is now.
Or antiquated, for sure.
If I may, I know board members have talked about the importance of encouraging home buyers in Riverhead, and this will help them as well. As you're saying, too much of what we get is something that somebody bought a house and didn't know about problems about it, and now it ends up costing them time and money, or it holds up a sale. This will get rid of some of that, so it's stepping even outside, just, again, the goals of the town and what we want to achieve as
Well,
a
Bob,
community.
you know that we've been discussing on the Landmark Commission how to have potential buyers know that they are purchasing a home that's in the landmark preservation. So it's like there would be an automatic tag on it that, this is what you're purchasing, so we won't have those problems.
Yeah.
Zoning, everything will pop up.
Yeah, and environmental concerns, that'll all be available and integrated,
And as part of the analysis that Bob and Heather worked on, what needs to be done in the building department, one of the things was there's quite a few expired permits that are currently in violation status. There just hasn't been enough time to pursue that. And so this could free up the time for them to get those old violations kind of scored away. And if we have about 730 expired permits, and that's as of January, I think that was when they did that work. It's probably more now. If half of those came back and we gave them an amnesty, so no penalty, you come in, you apply for your permit, you get your CO, you do your inspections, get your CO, we could generate, just conservatively, I think, another close to $200,000 in revenue, which is, something that the town has missed, that's out there. but there's just not enough
Right, digitizing the documents.
personnel to achieve that goal,
Sometimes
so.
I know you're gonna find this shocking, but Bob would like to see that 500 go up a little bit, so.
And when we did this,
I know you're not,
we did this very
I
conservatively.
understand.
We were very careful to not overestimate things. We worked with
I got it.
accounting to get the personnel numbers with benefits for hourly rates. We felt very strongly this was a really good thing to do, and so we wanted to make sure we made a good presentation to the board.
Great presentation, awesome stuff.
Rich, how much time does it take to
Yesterday?
have everything?
Exactly.
It would probably take a year and a half. It really depends on when we get into the details of, like if we, and we were talking about this, if the permit, if the ROTHWELL folder by tax map ID has a manila folder with each permit number and all the documents associated with it, and we're just gonna scan them, that's gonna go a lot quicker than if we have to actually look at documents and make a business decision to say, do we need to keep this? Do we need to, open up plans, see if there's duplicate copies? There's certain things like that happen. We're doing a project for a village in Nassau where they give us one big ROTHWELL, and we're sorting through all the documents. And this is permit 1, this is permit 100, this is permit 1,000, and it takes us a day and a half to go through a box. That's a lot of labor. We don't want to do that here. So, you either pay for it up front or on the back end. So if you pay for it on the back end, that means that if you've got it by permit, the back end is someone clicking through 10, 20, 30 pages to find a piece of paper. Some of the things we'll do is we could put the files in a certain order that when you're looking at them, you always see, the survey will be up front, the application, we can sort those. And that's not really a big cost because there are not that many documents in each file. The plans will always be separate from the documents. There'll be photos, so you might have 3 different doc types that you'd look at, okay? With the town of Hempstead, we did it by 18 different document types because they didn't want their staff, 100 people, looking through files. They wanted to go right to the application, right to the CFO.
I'm a fan of documenting all of it, because I know that you might say, I don't need a fax cover page or something like that. But I think from my own experience and researching properties that I've bought in Riverhead, when you go back sometimes, some of these plans for like sheds, decks, and says, they're sketched on a piece of paper. There's no architect seal, there's no, and it's that actual fax cover that kind of gives you the time frame. Okay, so this was before this, and then this is how it was removed and rebuilt, and it kind of, I like all of it because I think it gives them an opportunity to build like a time sequence of everything. Like, so when did it, because on the property that we just purchased, the deck was quite different than what the initial plan was, but then you go through the file and then you can find the different sequence of how you got to that.
So one of the questions that came up, to me at a legal department was this. So between scanning, right, and then Laserfiche, if there is things that have to be redacted, phone numbers, there might be social security numbers on a document, when does the redaction take place? And I'll give you an example. I'll say it, in Southhold, they had an intern do their scanning, and they scanned everything, and they put everything online, everybody's information. And they thought they were saving money, and they created a nightmare. So do you know when that redaction takes place?
It can happen by a couple of methods at scanning point, or it could happen within Laserfiche through AI, potentially picking up on phone numbers and social security numbers, different methods.
Okay.
I've yet to hear the advice of our attorney's
We'll
office
talk
to
to them.
understand our requirements.
Which brings me,
As we realize some of our neighbors have done none, we need to understand what we must do.
which brings
Because
me.
it's a massive undertaking to maybe
Right.
program this redaction and then go verify some of it.
So, and using AI, so that it brings you to the question of, because we discussed PDF files versus TIFF files. So then, that would figure out which one's going to be,
Laserfiche likes TIFF.
like TIFF.
But one of the things you can, on this particular point, is that if we're going through the files, I don't know a lot of documents that have, social security numbers.
Well, I use that, but there's names, phone numbers, some people's address, like that might be, one of the things that came up is they have a house in Florida, whatever, with a phone number. I'll let legal,
We'll look at that, but
Yeah.
if there were documents like that, and we could identify them, we can also create a miscellaneous section. And within Laserfiche, you can actually put security around it saying, okay, this particular set of documents, the public can't see, okay? It's
That's
all down to the document level when you set up the security, okay? So these are, I'm not, I've sold systems for 40 years. I'm not interested in selling you a system. I don't sell Laserfiche. But those tools are to your, you can use. And so I'd give you some guidance, at least to tell Laserfiche, these set of documents we want to, only the town people can, we do like personnel records, we do a lot of comptroller's office records, a lot of confidential information, and payroll records. And so only certain people in like the county can see them. And it's locked down in the system. Right, so-
Rich.
Good stuff. This is so exciting. Again, I know you guys are you're anxious here, right? Patiently excited.
I think we're both on we'll believe it when we'll see. It just feels like, I don't mean that to offend, I just,
I think that's fair.
yeah,
You believe it when you see it.
optimistic.
They're making good on promises, so I think this is great.
The good news is so many towns are doing it, and it's so much easier. You're gonna love it.
Thank you each for coming.
Especially
Thank you. Thank you.
We're gonna cut down on the pen distribution though.
Oh, yeah, your pen budget's done.
I still color code, I color code
It's
everything.
okay, we steal them off of the bank anyway, it's fine.
These are mine.
Don't even look at
Our intern,
Free to steal it.
our legal intern is learning so much. He's learning so much here, right? Our next, speaking of our legal department, our next matter is matter surrounding change of chapter 289 regarding parking and commercial vehicles on residential roadways with Councilwoman WASKI and our fine counselor, Ms. Pilo. Welcome to the day.
Hello. Thank you for coming in today, and thank you for all of your work on this. In my ongoing effort and promise to try to tackle bringing back our neighborhoods to happy environment, looking nice, and getting rid of some of the blight throughout the town, I had come to Victoria and asked her to work with me on the commercial vehicles, the vans that are coming home after work and are parked out on the streets. And this has been to code revision, and I worked with Councilwoman Merrifield on this as well through code revision, and I think that we came up with something great. So
Yes.
take it away.
All right. So there are neighboring towns that only allow for one commercial vehicle to be parked in a driveway in a residential area. We came up with a few different ideas whether we wanted to match those neighboring towns, but in further discussion at Code Revision, we realized that there are some people that have, their own businesses and they have two vehicles, and we don't want to infringe on any of that. But as we were discussing it, it became apparent that if you have more than two, it's no longer bringing your vehicles home. It's kind of, getting to the point where it's almost, you have a fleet of vehicles. So what we don't want to see, especially in residential areas, are these roads becoming de facto parking lots for either people that own all of these vehicles, or for possibly employees that are being sent home with the vehicles from neighboring town businesses to kind of circumvent the laws over there to put their extra vehicles over here. Since I sent this in, the only thing that I'm still workshopping a little bit, I spoke to Chief Frost this morning about how we would go about enforcement of this, because this is a great idea, but enforcement is a little bit tricky. Because if you say all residential roads, it's difficult for an officer at 2 a.m. that notices a vehicle parked on the side of the road. He may not know, or she may not know, what district they're in. Also, certain roads, as you're driving down them. They're agricultural, then they turn into mixed use, then they turn into industrial. So it would be really tough on the police officers to be able to know exactly where they are at any given time. Code enforcement can issue these tickets as well, and they're a lot more well-versed in these areas. So upon speaking to Chief Frost this morning, we came up with an alternative idea. The definitions you see, those would stay. For some reason, we never had a commercial vehicle or commercial trailer defined, so we're going to have that now, if you all approve those definitions. So the only thing that we may play around with a little bit would be the listing either just saying residential roads, or if we want to take a peek into 28912, which is not part of your packets today, but 28912 we should be pretty familiar with. We touched on it for the Youngs Avenue parking. It's no parking certain hours. So it would be incredibly difficult to list each road and its terminus, which one is, considered residential and which is not. So what myself and PD kind of came to a conclusion about is maybe we list the roads, the sections of the roads that are getting the most calls about or the most complaints about. We'll start with those and then kind of month by month start to add them into 28912. But really, focus on the ones that are the dangerous, the life safety, because in addition to parking these vehicles on these side roads, it's visibility, it's blight, it's a whole plethora of things that are an issue. But I didn't want to pull this back because I'm not sure about where we're going to put it in the code, but I wanted to present the general idea, and then we can work together on, with PD on enforcement and signage and all of that.
Because we're seeing some people are turning half their front yard into their parking.
Yes.
And saying, well, I'm not on the lawn, but,
Right. And that's-
2/3 of your entire front yard are now paved.
Does this address the yards and the driveways or just the
but I
road?
mean-
Front yard
I mean-
parking addressed, and we're
Right.
getting a ton of those tickets now that we have the part-time officers. I'm seeing a lot of those. So those are getting dealt with. So we're kind of trying to tackle it on all fronts where, if these vehicles can no longer park on the road, then they're going to try to park on the front lawn, but they'll get a ticket either way. So it's kind of, seeing where the issues are and kind of addressing them as they come in.
Smart strategy.
Well, I'm very glad that you came in and didn't take this off for today
strategy.
with me, because I just want the public to know that we see what's going on, and we're trying to make a difference. It's not all talk, it's getting done. So thank you, Victoria.
So I do have to ask one question, because when you say commercial vehicles, I know exactly what we're going for, and I commend you completely for working on it, the big plumbing trucks, electrical trucks and everything, big box vehicles. My only thing of just questioning to get a better understanding is that a lot of families have campers. Some people have jet skis, other things. A Dodge Ram 1500 is a regular passenger vehicle. I myself drive a Dodge Ram 2500. It is the same size truck, it's the same aesthetic looking truck, but it has a Hemi engine in it to pull. So I pull my 36-foot Jayco camper around, I pull my horse trails around, but that's my own private use. But I cannot register that vehicle with passenger plates because it's a 2500. The Department of Motor Vehicle classifies it as a commercial vehicle. I'm not alone in that setting, so I don't know how to address, but Riverhead's definitely a large camping community, and that has a lot of people have larger scale size pickup trucks simply to pull their campers to go around. So I don't know if there is a method to separate it, meaning that if it's a vehicle that does not have commercial lettering on it, commercial storage containers, if it's a standard pickup truck, I'm just asking, and I'm applying to, directly, this is something that would directly affect like somebody like myself that
Right.
uses this to pull. We
so-
had to pick up, we had a Tahoe and the engine kept blowing on it, pulling a camper on trips, and so we went to a 2500. But it, unfortunately, it had to be listed as a commercial vehicle.
Well, maybe it could be like an advertised commercial
The
vehicle.
definition a little bit more, as you can see, you know, we can,
With like lettering often, like all of a sudden
Right,
I put a logo on the truck, now it's a commercial truck.
Tech.
There you go. And so I just, I'm just asking if I just think that may affect, there's a lot of residents that are not involved in commercial businesses, but have commercial vehicles because they're towing campers.
so we can work with the definition, we could strike out the first part, up into that semicolon and get rid of the or, and then just have it for, in connection with the business trade profession. We can get rid of occupation, and then it would really just nail down those vans and those trucks. We also, we landed on 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. because, as far as I know, nobody is hiring contractors or having anyone stay past 8 p.m. to work on their houses. And it's more cut and dry for court. If someone says, I had a guy working on my kitchen and the ticket's at 2 a.m., it's a little easier there. So what we could do is I could definitely firm up the definition. I'm going to be working on what area of the code we'd like to see it in, whether it be, the specific roads or a certain amount of distance on each road. So,
We even tried,
yeah.
like on my vehicle, we want to be able to go on like Northern State Parkway, Southern State Parkway. but
no, you
commercial
can't.
vehicles
I
allowed.
had commercial plates on my first car, on my first truck, so.
Some of the ones they say, well, some pickup trucks, if you get a rear cab put on the top of it and you enclose it in, it becomes, then they give you, but immediately what eliminates it is the 2500 engine cuts it out, and that's
Okay.
primarily what a lot of people utilize today.
I like your strategy, I like the code,
right, so I go
going where you're getting the compliance is smart, this, following the breadcrumbs.
Good work.
Like it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm sorry to put something else on your plate.
That's what I'm here for.
I know.
Don't ever apologize. That is,
You do a
it
great
should not
job.
feel like it's a burden at all.
Can you just repeat, though, that make sure that people heard you? Did you say there's a lot more tickets and violation coming in due to our newly hired code enforcement officers and we are cleaning up the
Yes,
town?
yes. At first I almost didn't recognize the names, and then I said, "Oh, it's the new people." Yes, they're writing, and they're very well written tickets too. So whoever's training them is doing a great job. Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you
Great
all.
job.
I'll rework it and I'll send a new version as we all.
So with that, we are actually finished with our open session, so I'll just ask for a first and second to close our meeting today.
So moved.
To adjourn?
Second.
All in favor to adjourn?
Bye.
We're adjourned. Have a great week.